I'm in the studio with J Haleem.
And I'm in the studio with J Haleem.
I am in the studio with J Haleem.
I am in the studio with J Haleem. I'm in the studio with J Haleem.
You are now in the studio with J Haleem.
What's up, y'all? It's your boy J Haleem, and you are back for another amazing episode of S.T.A.R.V.E Talk. Of course, I'm biased. My show is amazing. And one of the reasons why my show is amazing because I have amazing people. So this lovely young lady right here will be no exception, Miss Vanessa Vizard. Thank you so much for taking the time out to speak with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
The crowd got to give you some more love. No, it's just amazing because, again, I got a chance to meet you in a educational capacity, but you always were on point. You always were, about your business. You knew about your business. Another thing I love about entrepreneurs who's already doing okay for themselves, being willing to continue to learn and continue to invest in yourself. So from the beginning, I was impressed by that. But then getting a chance to learn a little bit more about your company, and then just seeing, you're a woman-owned business in PR and in marketing, such a cutthroat dog-eat-dog, Yeah. So it's just one of those things. I said, well, I have to talk to her. I really want to know about her story. So let's start from the beginning. How did you get to where you are? What made you go in this direction?
And thank you for that. It is challenging being a woman in business and in marketing. Marketing is always about, it's not about what you did last year. It's about what you did last quarter, last campaign, because things are always changing. I started when I was young. Like, I've worked since I was 14. I started working when I was full-time, when I was 16. And I was a young mom, so, I had to always just provide but at the same time, I had a lot of drive, and I didn't want to be another statistic. Like, that was my motivation. I didn't want to be a high school dropout because I was, in my senior year when I had my daughter. I didn't want to, just have that life of struggle. So fast forward, in my early 20s, I started working for a nonprofit. Didn't know what I was doing, just took a job as an assistant. But my whole world changed. It really opened my life up to a lot of different things. And I started as an assistant, but worked my way up, basically ran their development department, oversaw 3 sister agencies, foster care, group home, special education, and ran, did all the fundraising, all the outreach, wrote grants, taught myself how to write grants. Wow. And in the midst of that, I was around a lot of entrepreneurs. And I always had that spirit within me. When I was young, I sold Avon and Party Light and Prepaid Legal.
Wow.
You name it. I was trying. I was always like hustling. How can I be successful? And none of those worked out, clearly. But then I realized I had a knack for, speaking publicly and doing PR work. Didn't really know, didn't have the education for that, but I just had a gift for it. Took a leap of faith, and in 2012, decided that I would start a company. Came up with the logo, the name. By 2013, I left that job. It was, I had a company car, and it was a corporate position. I was salaried. But I took that risk. It was a little scary, with 3 kids and a single parent, and just went for it. And I started doing PR. Initially, I was in motorsports. That was my first client. It was a lot of fun. And then I served kind of multiple industries in the entertainment space, but I realized with the PR, my clients needed marketing, they needed advertising. So initially I did consulting for many years. And then in 2019, we went full service. So along my journey, I started serving healthcare. And because I had the background in nonprofits, we niched down, started serving nonprofits and healthcare only, just to be really strong in that space. And now we're a full service agency.
I love it. It's funny though. We want to go back real fast. You talked about all of the experience that you had with the prepaid legal and Mary Kay and all those other things. And I was just literally talking to somebody about that, and I was saying that the things that you experience in your life, we might call failures, but they were setting you up for, what you're doing now. So what are some of the things or tools that you was able to learn from prepaid legal, Mary Kay, and some of the other ones that you worked?
Yeah. And then in sales in general, what I've learned is that for every no you get closer to your yes. And that is one of my biggest drivers, is like, if somebody tells me no, I'm like, okay, cool. It's a numbers game. So if you tell me no and you tell me no, then eventually I'm gonna get a yes, because I'm only gonna get so many no's before I get that yes. And that's really what drives me. But also is, you can do those products and they're great. I feel like a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when they're starting out, they have different things that they've done. I've sold fences, like vinyl fences, block wall. Like I make sure I do what it takes to
No,
to handle.
I love it.
I have just learned that, be friendly, do what's right by people. If you're honest and you sell based off of what's going to be good for the client, not just what's good for you, then you're going to do well, and all you have at the end of the day is your name, right?
Wow.
Your integrity. And I stand on that.
I love it. I love it. And people need to hear that, because again, somebody's, they keep coming up with new multi-level marketing companies, and, it's the new one every week. And so I've done my share as well. But what I did learn is that you're going to learn how to sell. You're going to learn how to speak. You're going to learn, you're going to be comfortable with speaking in front of people if you wasn't before. Even in the training that you get from that, it's like you're ready to take over the world because it just throw you out into the amidst the wolves, and then you got to figure it out.
No, it's so true. I feel like some of the best trainings I had, I worked in my early 20s. I was like 18 to like 23. I did 5 years. I worked in collections. And I was fifth in the nation for City Card.
Wow.
My collecting skills. But it was because I was nice to people. And so when you treat people with respect, but they put you through a 3-week training, and it talked, you learned all about like different personalities, and hit them with a whiff 'em, which is like, what's in it for me? And so all those things like really stuck with me over the years of be a good listener, empathize, and what's in it for them? What's gonna, how is it mutually beneficial?
I love it. I love it. And that's we kind of parallel, because in college I worked at a telemarketing company for the police, the Fraternal Order Police, and so we were asking for them to pay for decals. And so just cold calling different states, I had to, literally change it. I'm calling somebody in Tennessee, so I got my real country accent on, or in Florida and stuff like that. Exactly. So you would do, then you calling people there at they're eating dinner, and you're calling individuals. It's crazy, and you getting that no or get cursed out, they slamming the phone in your face. But I remember leading the room in sales multiple times and getting little plaques and stuff like that. So. Yeah. You don't know when you down the line how that training is going to help you out tremendously. So one thing that you couldn't plan for, you left your job being a mother of 3. And you said it sounded like you had a cushy job. You had the car and all that other good stuff, and you need that, especially in California, because that means they're paying for gas too. And so then you say, I'm going to go full time. What was that transition like?
It was really scary. The thing that, when I worked there, I had a lot of people that I would do fundraising events with these like corporate sponsors, and they would ask me to like leave and work for them. And so I had lined myself up, I couldn't just leave and be like, I'm going to start a company and have no clients. But so one of the guys that we did a fundraiser with, he was my first client, and he, it was set up to where when I left, I would start doing their PR. But it was scary. It took me several months to really like we started, like I said, I found it in 2012. It was like June or July, and I didn't leave until March of 2013 is when we launched. And I was just by myself. I feel like everything I've done and I've learned, I kind of just dive in head first and just have that tenacity. Like, I'm gonna figure it out. Yeah, so it worked out. And then I had in 6 to 8 months within that, somebody I had met at a networking event, they were like, hey, you know, are you interested in selling health insurance and Medicare? And I'm like, no, but I do marketing. So let me know, you know, if y'all need anything. And I ended up meeting the CEO of that company. And that's how I got into the healthcare space. And I started running all their marketing. I had to learn like compliance and federal regulations. And I just was like, you know, I'm a go for it. And you research and you do your homework and then you deliver. So it's been a neat journey.
I love it. TD Jake said that in his book Instinct that some lions, you know, leave the cage and they just slam the door. And then some lions got to leave the cage and leave it cracked for a little while, you know, so they'll leave out, explore, come back that night. So you sound like you're the one that left and slammed the door. It's like, I'm never coming back there. Don't even worry about it. I'll be just fine. And so it sounded like that was the spirit that you had when you stepped out. But, you know, a lot of people don't have that spirit. So somebody, if you had to go back and talk to another young lady 10 years ago that's probably in a space, the same type of space you in, what advice would you give her when she's about to make that move and leave the job? Would you tell her to do the same thing you did, or you have something different?
Yeah, you know, I think like my friend, she actually just left her full-time job and went, she's a therapist and started an independent practice. And so we just kind of actually had this conversation. And the whole time I'm like, you have the skill sets, you have like the knowledge, trust yourself, trust in God, like follow this journey. It's the magic happens when you get out of your comfort zone. Yeah. And I wish even when I started like my company, because initially I started with the intention of being full service, not necessarily being a consultant. But going back to where you were saying that, you know, it's kind of cushy. I was comfortable. I was comfortable because this client was like, you know, paying me X amount and I was committing to this many hours a month, and same thing with my healthcare. And so, but there was always this kind of struggle of almost like an employee type relationship. Yeah. And so that's why a few years ago in 2019, I broke away from that and said, no, I'm really going to operate like a full service agency. And my kids were older. And so it allowed me to take more of that risk and to do it. You know, but yeah, sometimes you really have to just trust. And I would tell somebody else in my shoes, you know, go for it. Go for it. If that's what you want, you're going to be successful. Like sometimes you might fail, but you're going to just pivot and keep going.
Yeah, definitely. So I was going to ask you about that, about your children. How old were your children when you decided to take that step?
Let's see. My son was 5, so my daughter was like 11. Yeah, so 5, 7. No, she would have been 10 actually. 5, 7, and 10.
Okay.
So 3 little ones. Yeah.
So at this point, what's the growth for them? Because now, you know, for a good portion of their lives, you've been entrepreneur mom. So how has that affected them?
My oldest is she just finished her second year of college. She's goes to GCU in Arizona, and she's going for sports management. She wants to get her law degree and do contract negotiation for NBA agents and sports, you know, so she's doing great. I'm very proud of her. She has a lot of drive. My middle daughter, she's AP classes. She's a junior in high school. She's such a good kid and involved in the community. She serves on like Mentor California as a youth leader. She's on the BSU as a secretary at her school. So she's really actively involved. She kind of, you know, gets that for me. Yeah. I serve on all kinds of boards and do all kinds of community work. And then my son, he is a freshman. He plays ball and he's He's doing really well. All my kids I'm just really proud of them and thank God. Yeah.
I see you just reading your bio and everything like that. I see you in each one of them, but I see a split. You know, I see from the negotiation side, your oldest child. Then I see your service, you know, but now I'm seeing the competitive piece probably going to be coming out of your son, you know, playing sports. So I see all of that. And a lot of times I ask that question because of being a parent, being an entrepreneur parent, and my kids was raised around nothing but entrepreneurship. I just, you know, some kids, you know, reform or go back away from it. Some kids dive into it. Now, my oldest I wrote 3 books. My oldest already wrote 2, and she's only 13.
Oh, wow.
So it's like she's all into what I'm doing. And then my son is like, hey, well, you know, I'm just chilling. I mean, he's into what I'm doing, but he's like, you know, that's just what dad does. So, you know, I wanted to see how the kids responded to that because they don't really know. And sometimes we, you know, entrepreneurs or would-be entrepreneurs make the kids out of excuses of why they're not going for their dream and things of that nature. But kids are way more resilient than we ever can imagine. Do you find that to be accurate?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like when my kids were little, I didn't always make a ton, right? I made just enough because when my kids were little, it was like my time was worth more than my money in a lot of ways. I was the only one for them. So I had to drop them off, pick them up. They were in all these activities. And they understood like mom has to work, mom is, you know, making a way, and they respected it. Like I brought them to city council meetings. I've brought them to, you know, other kinds of meetings. Sit right here, I'll be right back. You know, so they grew up in that space, but they also got the luxury of it because I would get comped to a lot of things. So we were, you know, I remember my son when we were little, he's like, Mom, we're VIP everywhere, you know.
I love it.
They got to do a lot of really cool things. And so I'm thankful, you know. I just right now, like yesterday, got home last night at 2 a.m, started a second company, and we're doing an Airbnb like travel. So I was staging a unit, and we just finished. It's our first one we set up, and I finished at 2 a.m. last night. So they see the struggle and the hustle, and they're like, they appreciate it.
Congratulations on that. That's just amazing. And, you know, the kid stories is like, and I see it because with mine, you know, I make my bones as a photographer, and I've shot like the Super Bowl and things of that nature. So like my team is the 49ers. So I was at the Super Bowl. See, I was at the Super Bowl in 2020. I shot that. So in Miami, so my kids were like losing their minds, you know, like dad did this, dad did that. So they get a chance to go to school, and my daughter has pictures of me with, you know, Debo Samuel and everybody in her phone, and so, you know, they're okay, this is cool. And so people don't really get that. Like, you didn't have your children. Like, it's not always taking care of them and it's just so bad. Like, they actually become your team, sometimes your teammates, you know.
Yeah.
You know, they're your biggest support system. They're your biggest cheerleaders, all that other stuff. So I definitely wanted to highlight that part. Like, it's not all bad, because a lot of people say, oh, well, you know, I got these kids, I can't leave. Like, they're like, hey, go ahead, rock out, Mom. I got that. I got the kids, you know, I got the siblings. Go take those 2 hours and take that meeting. It might change our lives. Right. So, you know, I really wanted to highlight that, and I definitely appreciate your story and make me smile with that. Yeah, so you got a support system, and I already know they're going to be trying to protect their mom. But they're
so good.
Definitely.
Yeah. I agree with you in the sense that people like will use their kids as an excuse. But I feel like if it's not their kids, it's something else, right? Like it's the difference between somebody who is determined to make something happen, regardless, despite, you know, your circumstances, and someone who's going to make an excuse because of their circumstances. And I just don't want to be in that box.
Makes sense. So you in the big bad PR and marketing world, what is one of the biggest misconceptions that people have about your profession?
Well, I get a lot of like folks who are like, think I'm a publicist, which is, I'm not. Just because you're in PR doesn't mean you're a publicist, right? So that's one misconception that I get from people. there's like handling media relations and strategic communications on the corporate side is a lot different than being like a publicist on the entertainment side, which I respect, because it takes some tenacity to be a publicist on the entertainment side. And then, you get people who think like you can, they don't have much going on, and they're like, they want to be on the front page of this magazine, or, there's a lot of that. It's like, that's not how this works. There's just different things that we go through. I'm very upfront with my clients. And I think just being, setting up like a realistic strategic plan. One of the misconceptions with PR is people don't realize, just like with anything, it takes time. It's not guaranteed. We are very diligent. We have a lot of success. My clients, always get featured. And but people think like that's going to happen overnight, and it doesn't. You're right. You have to have that investment, or they want to come to you like after something bad has happened, or after they, like when it's like, no, we can do that, but you got to invest up front and build your brand and build that reputation.
Yeah, they I thought that you were going to say that about the entertainment space is the biggest misconception, because once you probably see PR, there's automatically, they think about celebrities or something like that, something entertainment. They don't think that the government needs PR, or, the healthcare, or, things of that nature, which they do if you get educated. But another thing I'll touch on too, one of the reasons why you go through that is because now the would-be publicist, that's the first thing that they're selling to you. I know, because I'm a 3-time author, so I've actually ran through about 4 publicists. But everything they said to me was, I can get you on the cover of Forbes. I'm like, well, I don't got that much money. I'm doing all right, but I ain't that Forbes. But right. I'm like, so why? I'm not going to lie to myself. So I'm like, why? You got Forbes, you got this, you got that. I'm like, look, well, you've been hard. You got me on the hook for 6 months trying to get me on Forbes. But don't you know a person with a podcast around the corner? Or, up the block, or that you're doing business. Like, so it's just different situations. So I think that people have that misconception because a lot of people that want to be publicists now are like throwing that out there. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what we can do for you if you give us X amount of dollars. And I realize I don't expect anything different. And a lot of people that's realistic in business. My goal is you should know something I don't know. That's my biggest thing. Like, if I'm booking you for anything, if you book me to do something, I should be telling you something different than what you already know. Because otherwise, why am I taking your money? And so,
exactly.
So that's an integrity piece. But I think that that's one of the reasons why you run into that scenario. But you have had a bunch of experience working in different, areas. So which one is your favorite?
My nonprofits,
okay.
I have, like, when I was in motorsports, that was so much fun. So I can't even say, but that was so long ago. Nonprofits, I love community work. Like, I've done a lot of different things. I've gone into Haiti and helped open an orphanage there. I've gone into Turkey and helped with Syrian refugees. So that's just like stuff I'm very active in my community from so many different programs I've created, but that's why I love helping my nonprofit clients, because I get to get paid for what I do, but I know what they need. I have a very clear understanding of how they can be successful. They also need a lot of PR, right? Because if you don't, there's so many nonprofits. Like, we're in the Inland Empire. I want like 100,000 nonprofits out here. So in order, and they have all budget range. Most of them have under a budget of 50,000, which is, what can you do with that, right? So that's like one founder, one CEO, and they, just have this program, and they're giving back. So to shine light and to like uplift the voices, uplift the work that they do is so powerful. Yeah. And I like to make an impact. Like, part of my culture at my company is we get behind, campaigns that matter, and shed light and lift up those voices, whether it's in the healthcare space, the government space, or the nonprofit space. They all kind of tie together.
No, I love that. I love that. And you said something about the budget. So, did you feel like because of the budgetary constraints that makes other people in your market or in your any competition of yours run away from nonprofit?
Perhaps, there's different sides to it. Like we work with large nonprofits. There's nonprofits that have huge budgets. So like we work with nonprofits that have both large and small budgets. A lot of times they'll write a grant and they have a program, so they have funding. So like I've had clients that come to us and they're like, we just wrote this grant for, X amount of dollars and we need a website. Okay, boom. Like we can put that together. They have the budget to cover it, and so I think there's misconceptions thinking that nonprofits don't have money. Even the ones that have a small budget, maybe they just need a flyer, maybe they just need something. We do give them a discount, because we do our main mediums are like branding, creative, website development, advertising, and strategic communications, which falls under, the PR. So we have a lot of clients that come to us for different things, a logo, a business card, and for us, it's good, right? There's not a lot of marketing agencies that just focus on, certain industries. Or when they do, they're like these big mega companies and they, are charging an arm and a leg. So we're well priced, I think, for our services. And, we provide great service. So it's nice. Yeah.
Nah, it sounds great. I mean, because in business, a lot of people, are trying to be where everyone else is. And I don't like that. I teach, about a mechanism called being a cheese. I heard it from Gary Vee the first time, but it was just something he was talking about, and I took it and ran with it. I always give him his props though. But he started out in the wine industry, of course, and he talked about how the person that brings the cheese to the wine festival makes all the money because you can't, if you buying wine from me and I'm buying wine from you, we're not making any money, but we both got to buy cheese to go with the wine. So for me, as a business tactic, I use it for networking, and I talk to individuals about putting yourself in rooms where everybody is your potential client and nobody is your competition. And I just believe that that's a great scenario. Because again, it seems like you love it. Your whole background is nonprofit. So,
Yeah.
It's a thing like mastery, like, what they need before they even somebody can be just getting started, just got their 501c3, about to get their first grant. You said you already know how to write grants. Like you can talk to them about everything about that. And so speak to that a little bit about the mastery portion as opposed to just following the wave that's going on right now or for the time being.
Yeah, no, mastery is so key. And that's why we niched down and said, okay, let's stay in nonprofits and let's stay in healthcare. Like you have to know what you're doing is in marketing, right? You have to, like, we take on new clients and sometimes they're outside of our industry and we'll do a lot of research and make sure, but having that ability, when I started, I went through like a whole fundraising academy when I was still employed, right? So like everything from writing an ask letter to like, what does that consist of, to collect money, right? Because nonprofits need money. They need a fundraise, they need volunteers, and they need brand recognition in order to get both of those. So those are like the key pieces that most nonprofits need in order to survive. And having that skill set on the healthcare side, we serve, we stay in mostly the Medicare space. So we work with independent physician associations, which is like a medical group. And we know that space very well. We understand their needs. We understand their, what their challenges are, what their goals are. They may shift a little bit from agency to agency, but knowing that, like I just had a call yesterday with, they're actually a current client, but there's a new person overseeing it. So I had to like kind of do a reintroduction, and he's like, oh, okay. You're very well versed and you have this background and that's great to know. And so it's really key because you're going to sell something like what you mentioned earlier is you need to know more than I know.
Yeah.
And even my own team, I'm like, I bring on people that are stronger than me in other areas because I know that, you're only as good as your team. So my employees have to be strong. My employees have to be well-versed. And whoever I partner with has to have those abilities. You need to be better at me in a different area, so that way we can complement each other.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So you talked about, 2019, you saying, you know what, I'm going to be full service. But then 2020 happens.
That 2020, that damn 2020.
Exactly. Right. So what happened? Talk about, how did you pivot? How did you maintain through that time?
Yeah. So to be quite honest, like 2019 happened, we were trending. It was a great year. I was like, the first 6 months of 2019 were actually hard. Transitioning from consulting to full service, like it was rough, and I had some of my family. That was the first time. I never took a business loan when I started, which I don't necessarily think is a good idea. Now I realize, when you take a loan, you can leverage that, make more money. Back then, I used to think it was debt, and so my thought about money shifted, and so now I really have a good understanding and a good relationship with money. But in 2019, things were going difficult at first, and then the last 6 months were phenomenal. We were trending to do amazing in 2020, and then COVID hit, and so my clients, everything started freezing, and we're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? And so I started doing virtual. I got together with another media agency and iHeart and Spectrum, and we had, we put together like how to keep your business thriving and during COVID and gain clients. I started like doing Zoom calls and speaking with nonprofits on a Zoom, like if they asked me to be a guest speaker. But mostly, right, like we didn't have a lot of retainer clients during COVID. A lot of our campaigns froze. We did a lot of brand and creative, a lot of like one-time projects. So I mentioned earlier I had sold fences. Well, back when I first started my company, I sold fences for like a year because my brother-in-law has a fence company, and he's like, do sales for me. And I'm like, okay, cool. This will sustain while I launch my company. And then over the years, I'd have a customer referral. I'd sell a couple fences a year because just why not? You can make good money doing it. I can spend an hour and make $500 to $1,000, So in COVID happened, he called me and he's like, hey, can you, nobody really knows this, by the way, other than like my good friends. So I'm gonna share it with your audience.
Exclusive.
But this is like the struggle of like entrepreneurs and how things go. And so he's like, can you do sales? Well, thank God, like it sustained me. I sold a ton of fences during COVID. I guess people were at home and were like, they had all that extra money and they were looking at their backyard like, I need home improvement.
Exactly.
So I did that, and that like in addition to my, clients, and then selling, like that really sustained. But most people don't know. And then at the end of 2020, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. This is taking too much of my time. And 2021, I was like full laser sharp focus. We had our best year ever. We landed our first government contract.
Wow.
And it's been amazing this year. We already, it's only first quarter ended. We already surpassed our numbers for 2021. So we're doing really great, and I'm just excited to see where things go next year.
Listen, that is amazing. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is why I say we're going to have a very, very good show, because people need to hear these stories, because they all go into their business plan, right? And they write down, it's going to go from A to Z. I'm going to start with zero and have $5 million in 5 years. and the line is so straight. But the truth of the matter is the line is squiggly. It's squiggly. And nobody tells that part. You go on social media, everybody's showing you the yacht. Everybody's showing you the Rolls Royce. Nobody's showing you hey, and I get it. I love the fact that you didn't have a plan B. You had a contingency. You had things to hold you over, but you knew what you were going to do. You were already working your plan, working your company. You had to do what you need to do to keep your foundation afloat. But there's nothing wrong with that. And but we need to tell that. Why do people feel like, it's supposed to be just so easy and not have these type of stories?
I think there's a lot of misconceptions, right? And because social media, right, they make it look so amazing, like I'm living this best life, and I'm 25, and I'm an influencer, and I snap a photo and I'm getting paid. But you start hearing people's stories and they're like, I slept in a car, I had this happen to me, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
I just saw one of my friends that I've known for a long time was very successful, and saw something about he was sleeping in a car back in the day, and I'm like, oh, holy crap, I would have never have known. The truth of the matter is, it is not like, for there's some people that come into the business world, maybe they grew up in a business family and they had money seeded to them. That's a different scenario.
Yeah.
Like, for me, I started, from my bootstraps, and I just invented and made up like my way. I made my way. My way, and I will never work for another person again. You will never see me work a 9 to 5. I'm not that way. I need to be in a creative space and have control of my time, and there's going to be struggles. It really comes down to your drive. I feel like as an entrepreneur, it comes down to your tenacity. It comes down to you have to be willing to sacrifice. Like I like I said, I got home at 2 a.m. because I was, sacrificing for another venture. And sometimes I'll get up at 5 just so I can start my emails early. It's those late nights. I take my laptop with me when I travel. You have to be willing to make those sacrifices until things get on autopilot. And now I'm in a place where it's getting there, and I'm excited, and I have support, and I have employees, and but it doesn't happen overnight.
I'm excited for you. I'm definitely excited for you. What is your mantra?
My mantra, I don't really have like a mantra, like a saying, but just some of the things that keep me going is God, right? Like just having faith that through God, all things are possible.
Okay.
And that's probably one of the biggest things that I live by. And also just, to be a good person when no one's looking, be a good person when people are looking, and then smile while you're doing it. 'Cause, you live once. Like, you got to be happy, you got to be joyful, and just have grace in things that you do.
Yeah, definitely. I love that. And I ask you that because this, all this has come from my mantra. My mantra is I won't starve. That catapulted me, 8 years ago now, to leave my job and to start, this journey, and now have S.T.A.R.V.E. Talk, and You Won't Starve is my second book, and all this other stuff like that. Everything's around S.T.A.R.V.E. And so, again, we talked about my acronym, S.T.A.R.V.E., which is Stand Tall and Reclaim Victory Every Day. So what does that mean to you?
It means, for me, like, I am not, that's really interesting. It's like, I am not where I came from, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you could label me as all sorts of things that, from my past, or from just the single mom, the, pregnant at the 17, or things that happened in my household growing up, and just different things, right? So like, I am who God has intended me to be. I'm not my circumstances. I'm not my surroundings. So every day I wake up and it's like, what impact can I make in the world?
Yeah.
Whether that's through my clients, whether that's just being kind to, somebody that I pass by on the street or whatever. And to me, it's like reclaiming that I am going to succeed no matter what obstacles are thrown at me. Like, I might have that tenacity because I've been through some stuff in my life, and all that stuff just makes me who I am. It makes me stronger. It was preparing me for who I am today. It wasn't defining who I could be. Yeah. Yeah.
I really appreciate that because, again, as I keep saying, people need to hear that. Everybody. I always pick on the good brother. I'm gonna meet him one of these days. But Eric Thomas, and famous motivational speaker. I'm from Newark, New Jersey. People yell all the time, so I couldn't stand hearing him yell and say, "Oh, well, you're lazy. You want to sleep more than you want to be rich and all this other stuff." And I'm sitting there like, man, people got to sleep, dude. Like, what are we talking about? And I really didn't like him, so I got into reading and studying and you couldn't really listen to like the Les Browns or any other people without hearing him. And so I said, let me dig and find out a little bit more about this gentleman. And then when I realized that it wasn't about that, it was his discipline. He actually went to bed at 7 o'clock at night and woke up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. But that never made it to the story. If I didn't choose to dig in, it was always, I get up at 3 o'clock in the morning. You want to sleep. You want to sleep. And I'm sitting there like, yeah, people want to sleep, dude. Like, what are you talking about? And
you were sleeping at 7.
Exactly. But you were disciplined, because if you had a job to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning, like a FedEx job, you would go to bed on time so you can get up and be to work. Say that, because that's going to actually help somebody. And so instead of me complaining about what he's doing or not doing or somebody else, I said, let me create my own platform so that I can ask those questions, so I can give people the opportunity to actually talk about the real stuff, and maybe we can help somebody to actually be able to get through that, because that's my passion and that's my lot in life. I went through a lot myself and I did it alone. And so for me, it's like, how do I create books, platforms and things like that to make it easier for individuals that they don't have to go through the same thing I went through? Because you're not going to ever let your kids go through the hardships you went through. If you got love for people, you're not going to tell them to do it hard the way you did it. Right. To prove a point. You're going to try to make it a little bit easier. Well, I was homeless, so you got to be homeless and see if you're a woman enough. Like, no. And so
you can handle it. Yeah. No, not at all. Not at all. And I think, like, to your point, I read a lot of books too, and it's always, I get up at 5, and that's great. I think, like, for certain people, they can be that disciplined. I am not. I am a fluid, creative person. I'm going with the flow. Like, if I need to stay up late one night till 1 or 2 in the morning and grind, I'm going to do that. If I gotta sleep in the next morning and then wake up at 5 another morning, I'm gonna do what it takes, as long as I'm gonna handle my responsibility. When you were saying like your mantra, I started going back and thinking, like, one of the things I always tell myself is, you got this, B. Like, I got this. Like, and that's what I repeat in my head all the time. You got this. And so I get up and I'm like, boom, I go, okay, I got this.
We got her t-shirt now. It's gonna be, I got this. So, when she got, I got this t-shirts on her, just say you heard it first on S.T.A.R.V.E Talk.
I'm gonna put it on a t-shirt now.
There it is. That's branding. I love it. That's branding. Listen, everybody has something, and I just wanted to bring it to the forefront, because like you said, you wasn't thinking about it at first, but now you had to go back and say, okay, yeah. And then you know what? It's going to permeate through your team as well. When you say it to your team, because I'll be perfectly honest with you, mine was a big middle finger at first. It was just like, I won't starve was a middle finger to everybody who thought I wasn't going to be able to do all right. But, the good God, came down and said, I'm going to turn that thing around. And people started reaching out to me saying that they were being blessed by it, and they were taking it and believing for themselves that they wouldn't starve. I said, okay, well, maybe we can do something positive with this. But that was literally what my intention was. I'm like, instead of arguing with people, I'm just going to show you how I would do an amazing shoot. I got this shoot with the NBA, or I got this. And I would put it on my social media and hashtag it. I won't starve, no matter what y'all say. Watch this. I mean, seriously, you probably can go back and find them. Because I really wanted to show, like, oh, okay, he working this place. So this people flew him out to shoot. Like, yeah, you talking about me with my camera. I'm doing this. But it's funny about that thing. When you're doing the right thing, it just starts to transform you, and it transforms the things around the people around you as well. So I can just see your team, like y'all putting your hands in the middle,
Yes.
1, 2, 3, I got this. So I love it. I love it. Again, just leave us with some words of wisdom for entrepreneurs, definitely for young ladies who going through some adversity but still want to be entrepreneurs. Just leave us with some good words of wisdom?
You know, I would say that no matter what you think, like, get out of your own way. You know, don't be afraid to step out. Like I said earlier, when you get out of your comfort zone, that's when the magic happens. So take that leap, get over that fear, and trust. You know, you may not always know all the pieces. Like, I used to think I had to know everything. Okay, before I make a move, I need to do da da da, and everything has to be just so. Now it's like, no, just take action, because every little step is going to get you to where you're going. You're going to look back and be like, wow, like, I didn't even realize how, you know, all this was happening. And now you get to look back and see what you accomplished. And so I would just say, just go for it. Every day, do something, work towards your goal, and trust and believe in yourself. Because when you start looking like how you were saying about, you know, you're trying to prove a point to other people, like, I'm going to make it. They didn't know what I used to do. They didn't, not that they didn't support me, but they didn't understand.
They don't understand. Yeah, I get it.
Now they're like, the successful business owner, right? Like, but before, it's like, so if you're looking for your friends and family to be the one that motivates you, that's not it.
Yeah,
like, you got to motivate yourself. You got to surround yourself with like-minded people, right? So other entrepreneurs, other people that are business-minded, that get yourself, you know, somebody that you can be accountable to, whether that's another friend that is, you know, striving to accomplish their dreams, or a business mentor. Those people are really powerful, you know, and it helps to motivate you. So I would say, you know, go for it.
I love it.
I
love it. You got this. You got this. Listen, I told y'all we were going to be super exclusive today. I really enjoyed myself with you this morning. Now, to let everybody know how they can find you, your website, all your social medias, and how they can book you, more importantly, you know, give you some of that money.
Okay, I appreciate that. Again, Vanessa Vizard with Vizard Marketing and PR, and that is V like Vanessa, Izard. Our website is vizardpr.com. Our Instagram is Vizard Marketing and PR. Our Facebook is Vizard PR. So you look up Vizard PR, you're gonna find us.
Google her. Google the company. It pops up.
Yes. You can you know, give us a ring, 951-533-6180. And we will, you know, we're here to help you.
I love it. I love it. Listen, y'all already know how to stay in contact with us. www.jhaleem.com, www.iwon'tstarve.com. Go on to the YouTube page right now. Subscribe to Starve Talk YouTube page, youtube.com/Starve Talk. Subscribe today so you can stay and keep in touch with us and see beautiful people like Vanessa. Y'all don't want to see me, but you need to see her. Need to hear what she's talking about. Need to get some of that money. Give it to her. Give it to her. She can help you do very, very well with your business or your nonprofit. Definitely educate you on nonprofit. That's a whole nother. It's a whole nother show. I definitely got an idea for a nonprofit show with you because it's just a whole nother thing. But in the meantime, in between time, you know, you guys definitely connect with her. Stay connected with us. And until next week, we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
I'm in the studio with J Haleem.
I'm in the studio with J Haleem.
I am in the studio with J Haleem.
I am in the studio with J Haleem. I'm in the studio with J Haleem.
You are now in the studio with J Haleem.
Recording stopped.